Hi, everybody. It's been a wonderful last few days. I can hear people shouting from the rafters now that we know that Donald Trump has been, as he so eloquently put it recently, it's been indicated. Certainly hasn't been vindicated, I can tell you that now, but according to him, he's been indicated. The man has never been able to spell, never been able to talk appropriately, never has displayed any sense of intellectual capacity whatsoever, but is loved by millions, and I don't understand it. I can't understand why the American people in particular think this man has an ounce of intelligence that is worth noting, because he's a dick. And it is apparent that there are a number of charges to be laid against him. Not one, not two, but possibly, it's been reported, and who knows whether that reporting is accurate or not, but there are around 34 separate charges which he will be facing once he's indicated through the court process. Now, when this indictment is going to take place, who knows? They're saying that probably he will actually face the court on Tuesday. And I just wonder what sort of a show that will be for all those people who are interested in everything that is Trump, which appears to be most of the population, sadly, including myself, because I want to cheer along with the rest of the crowd when this deceitful, despicable individual finally gets everything that is owed to him, which is hopefully a custodial sentence. Now, we do need to remember that there are also a range of other cases that are sitting in various courts around the land in relation to him as well, and we need to see what transpires around those. Now, you know, when you think about adding up all of these cases, some of the civil cases don't necessarily apply because that's about how much money he may have to pay out to the people that he's had sex with, or raped, I should say. Well, that's a different issue. But those criminal cases that he's facing, well, one wonders how many years potentially he could spend in jail. And what is this like for Trump right at this particular moment? I would imagine he's shitting his pants, that he's never been in this situation before. He's got away with heaven only knows what else over the years. But this time, he may not get away with bad behaviour. I cast my mind back to a period when, you know, this man, along with his father, were racially motivated, where they would put a C at the top of applications forms for people that were wanting to rent their apartments. The C obviously meant coloured, and to them that meant that his was a person they should not rent to. He's clearly anti-Semitic, he's clearly racist, he's clearly a bigot, he's clearly misogynist, and he's clearly, I would allege, a rapist. And above all else, he's a con man. And why it is that the American people suffer this man, I will never know. It's just not logical. Anybody with a rational sense of being, and someone that can look at another person and say, is this a good person or is this a bad person? Does this person like to harm me? Does this person not like to harm me? I think you'd probably have to say that Trump is the sort of person that wouldn't take any prisoners. The only person he does care about is himself, that he would, if you were a friend but you betrayed him in his eyes, he would throw you under a number of buses. So he's a man, in other words, that can't be trusted. Yet, millions of people think he's okay. Why is that so? I've got no idea. I don't understand what it is about him that they find enticing. Is it the fact that he acts tough, even though he isn't? Is it the fact that he looks to people who are authoritarians, but who are weak? Does he see them as strong individuals when he himself is pathetically weak as well? I don't know. But why isn't it that other people, intelligent people, haven't worked this out? And why is it that Republicans in particular want to side with him? Now, it's fair enough to say there's a bank of Republicans who are anti-Trump, and good on them. And they're campaigning as hard as anybody, in fact more so than the Democrats, against this man because he solely and singularly has destroyed the Republican Party. I find all of this sad. I think that the American has become, because of Trump, a third world country, a country which can no longer stand up for the so-called principles that they had, always principles that were in doubt anyway. However, that is the way they viewed themselves, and they can't view themselves that way anymore because they are actually making a stand for a man who ostensibly stands for everything that they have said they stood against in the past. And yet they're allowing this man to have some sort of authority and power. So I'm hoping that he will be destroyed, that they'll come to the realisation that you can't have a man sitting in jail running for president, and they will then decide to dispense with him once and for all. And maybe the Republicans may even make a decision about getting back to governing a country as opposed to just raising issues which are about attacking others, whether you be gay, trans, whether you have a different view of the world to them, and start looking after and caring for those people who elected them in the first place. That's my issue with Trump. The next, and I had an interesting backdrop actually that I wanted to put up, which I forgot to do when talking about Trump, so I'll put it up now, which is this Trump rally in which they're shouting, hang her. They're talking about lock her up. That's right. So they're saying about Clinton. They're saying lock her up. And I thought this was super appropriate to put up, simply because at the moment the person with whom is likely to be locked up is the very person who started this chant back in 2016. So hopefully he will be the one that will be locked up. We can only hope. Now, I just wanted to finish this feed on another less happier note. Well, I don't know, it depends on which way you want to look at it. And this actually concerns Mark Lathan. Now, those of you in Australia will know that Mark Lathan is a right-wing propagandist who went from being left-wing, because he was, at one point, he was leader of the ALP, and is now turned to this other incredible position, which is leader of the One Nations, which is a right-wing party in New South Wales. And the other day, he had, and I'm not going to put up what he actually said, but he said some horrible homophobic things about a member of the Legislative Council in New South Wales who happens to be gay. And what he said, though, was so repulsive, so disgusting, that even Pauline Hanson, the leader of the party, had to make a stand against him. But the most interesting thing for me was that he often appears on Sky News as someone they respect, but no more, because our friend, Andrew Bolt, has decided that he doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore, and he slammed him. He gave an incredible response to Lathan's most recent comments on Twitter or wherever it was around this Greens Legislative Council member. Now, Bolt in the past has been in favour of and articulated right-wing conspiracy theories and a whole host of other bullshit for many, many years. So to see him turn on somebody such as Mark Lathan indicates, number one, that what Mark Lathan said was beyond reproach. There's no way in the world you could justify anything that Lathan had said. No one, no matter what side of politics you sit on. One Nation leader said, I don't like this, and tried to call Mark Lathan, but he didn't respond. And now the Sky News, the right-wing media here in Australia, has turned on him as well. And this is a stark difference between what happens here in Australia when someone crosses that line as opposed to even what happens in the US. In the US, a similar circumstance to this, namely Trump, you would find that A lot of people would side with Trump, make excuses for him, say he wasn't his best on this particular occasion, whatever it is. Can't say he was drunk because he doesn't drink. Mark Lathan, you can say he was pissed because he probably was. But nevertheless, there is no one on the right wing making an excuse for anything that Lathan says. Now, there have been some horrible people in the Republican side of politics in the US who say the most obnoxious, disgusting, terrible, terrible things, and yet get away with it, and no one stands up against them. At least here, I must confess, there is this instance where they have, and I think we need to celebrate that. I'm just going to play a little bit of what Bolt had to say, and let me know what you think.
The name of Channel 9 journalist Sarah Arbo. Lathan hates criticism, accused me of various foul and false things, and that was it with us, even though I'd supported him quite a while.
You did.
Now, I didn't, and you didn't expect him to come back on my show, but he was the leader of One Nation.
You're an idiot. You should have brought him back.
He was promoting some sensible policies at last weekend's election, so I did ask him on to explain them, and I told you that the voters and the policies were more important than my feelings. Now, Lathan did ask to come on again just before the election. I said, fine, we'll talk elections again, but never again. Lathan this morning put out a tweet so disgusting that even he felt ashamed after a while and eventually deleted it, but much too late. This tweet was so disgusting, so homophobic, and so vile in a pornographic way that I cannot even hint at what he said about a gay politician, Alex Greenwich. But it was the kind of thing a scumbag would write, a drunk one, except that he wrote it not at night, but at 10:30 a.m. this morning.
No, he's probably drunk then.
Now, what was going through his mind, I do not know. But not for the first time, I wonder if he has some issue that needs seeing to. Now, Lathan seems to have a self-destruct button, and is punching it just far too often. Many former colleagues in Labor refused to speak to him after he betrayed them in a seeming rage, betrayed secrets and all sorts of things. There was also the Arbo joke, and there was a fight with a taxi driver whose arm was broken. And now this tweet, which I don't think he'll ever live down. He will be a pariah, and not just here at Sky. I wonder how he'll be able to function effectively as a political leader when he's earned the contempt of so many for his abuse.
So that's all I will play of all of that. But I think generally you all get the drift. That Lathan's gone. He's certainly gone from Sky News. Whether he's gone from One Nation remains to be seen. But the irony is that if Pauline Hanson doesn't like you for being prejudicial in your thinking, then you really clearly must have stepped over the mark, because she's probably one of the most racist, prejudicial persons that you can ever imagine. Except it is worth noting that her press secretary himself, I believe, is gay, so maybe she has a little bit of tolerance around those people that are gay, but clearly not if you're trans, as would be indicated from her most recent splurge on the Posse Reynolds affair. So, what do you think of that? Do you think Lathan should stay? Do you think that there should be an effort to have him kicked out of politics? I think there is. Unfortunately, you can't sack a politician unless you go to an election. Should there be some sort of power that governors should have, state or federal, that can ensure that people do not remain when they cross a certain line? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below, and please subscribe, ring the bell, and I tried to get my numbers up by the end of the month. Wasn't successful. I have to reset my targets, and my targets are now set for next month to hopefully get up to 200 subscribers. So I'd really like you to be able to help me do that. Take care of yourself, look after yourselves, and look after your family, and make sure that you and everybody in your life is safe. Take care, everybody. Bye.